Here we are, folks, back for another edition of the Wellness Talk podcast. I am George Batista, your host and your wellness advocate. Of course, for those of you who are new, Wellness Talk is a show that goes over the latest in health, healing, nutrition, all the healthy stuff that we can do to take responsibility for our health. What we do here is we give you the information. We empower you, okay? Now, what you do with that information is up to you. Hopefully, you can use it to keep yourselves healthy, and or if it doesn't fit for you, you share it. And that's the big thing. Share the information with friends, family, or whoever, and because you can actually be making a difference in someone's life. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with this show, hoping to make a difference in people's lives, even if it's a small number of people. I don't care, because the point is I'm using the principles that help me live a healthier life, right? Because I dealt with a lot of crazy things when I was younger, and I got myself out of all that. And now I'm helping you and trying to give you that information. So kind of pay it forward. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So I hope you guys are doing great. And of course, thank you so much for supporting this show as you do every week. All right. This week, we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to talk about weight loss drugs. Specifically, we're going to talk about Ozempic, right? Ozempic is the big one, right? That's the one that's you're hearing about it all over the place. The celebrities are talking about it. People are talking about how much weight they've lost and all these types of things. And my question to you is, these weight loss drugs, are they worth the risk? Now, I did a little bit of a show a few months back on this, but again, we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive because we're seeing things that are coming out that are very troublesome when it comes to these drugs. So the first one is from Wellness Resources, and it's Ozempic side effects include pancreatitis, stomach paralysis, thyroid cancer. That's not good, okay? I mean, it's really when you look at this. Now, the issue about Ozempic and these types of drugs is that they do work. They do actually what is intended. They actually do help you lose weight. Now, the funny thing is that they were not originally intended for weight loss, right? They were originally intended for diabetes and diabetes management and support and that type of thing. And then they kind of morphed into this whole weight loss craze. And now, again, you're seeing celebrities, you're seeing all these people, talk about how great it is and how much weight they have lost. But again, is it worth the risk? That is my question to you. So we're going to dive into all those side effects, exactly what Ozempic is, what it does, the mechanism of action. And again, we're going to talk about, should you take a look at this and or should you be on it? Okay. So that's our first article. Then we're also going to talk a little bit about some recent articles that have come out that these drug makers of these medications or these, things like Ozempic, for example, are now targeting 6-year-olds with this. So they're actually targeting 6-year-olds. And this is crazy. This is crazy. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that as well. Why that is such, a big deal. Why is that troublesome? And what you should be aware of. Okay. Then from there, another article from Wellness Resources. And we're going to talk about what could be a possible alternative to in metabolic health, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole thing about losing weight and about, lessening your risk of diabetes and heart disease and all these things, and I talk about it on this show all the time, is about being metabolically flexible, right? It's about metabolic health. And if you lose weight, that's fine. You can drop a ton of weight. But does that mean you are metabolically healthy? Think about that for a second, right? Is it worth it? So from Wellness Resources, we're going to talk about a natural plant-derived polyphenol that can help support metabolic health. And this is called Berberine. And this is entitled Berberine Naturally Helps Metabolic Health. So we're going to talk about what Berberine is, what it does, some of the science behind it as far as the studies and what it's done, and why you should take a look at it. And why maybe instead of looking at some of these drugs out there, these popular drugs that are out there that kind of do it artificially, why not look at something like Berberine and add it to your fitness and weight loss program? So we're going to dive into that today. And for those of you who, are maybe on the fence about these things or maybe not sure how to lose weight or having trouble losing weight or whatever the case may be, take a look at this stuff, okay? Because these are things that you need to be aware of. And of course, again, I'm going to bring you this information because I think it's important for you guys to know. And again, what you do with it, it's up to you, but do the research, right? Take the responsibility, do the research. That's what you need to do. So, of course, go to georgebatista.com. That's where everything is housed. Now you can watch this show on there. You can read the articles. You can sign up for the newsletters. You can support the show. And, of course, you can join our Facebook group, which is on the front. You can click on that, take you right to Facebook and check it out. Join our group. I'm posting a lot of healthy information on there, posting my supplement regimens. I'm going to be on there doing Q&As. I'm going to be on there doing a lot of, activity and interacting and stuff. So if you guys want to hang out with us and hang out with some healthy people, come on down and join our Facebook group. And I think you'll enjoy it because, we need to come together as a community. So that's what's going on, and hope you guys get a lot out of this. So without further ado, let's get started on the information for this week. All right, so first, from Wellness Resources, we're going to talk about Ozempic, and this is Ozempic side effects include pancreatitis, stomach paralysis, and thyroid cancer. Now, before we dive into the article, I'm going to play a clip because it's one thing to talk about the article and kind of go through it, but I want you to see what's out there in the news. And I want you to see exactly how people are talking about it. And, because it's all the rage, it's mainstream and all this. So take a look at what they're talking about when it comes to Ozempic and these types of, weight loss drugs and what they're kind of like, miracle weight loss drugs or whatever the case may be. And for those of you who are listening, you'll be able to kind of understand what's going on. But check this out so you can kind of get a sense of what's going on out there.
These days, it's the talk of TikTok.
I just start dropping pounds left and right.
The topic Ozempic has over 300 million views.
Being on this medication has helped me tremendously with my health.
With scores of users crediting the drug for their weight loss success. Ozempic is a drug you inject that's meant to improve blood sugar and help manage type 2 diabetes. But because one of the side effects is weight loss, many are using it off-label, a trend that may have started in Hollywood. Talk show host Andy Cohen even recently tweeting, "Everyone is suddenly showing up 25 pounds lighter. What happens when they stop taking Ozempic?" Since Ozempic's gone viral on social media, some doctors like Nancy Ranama say they've been flooded with inquiries.
It's become something very hot and heavy in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills.
Ozempic's active ingredient, semaglutide, works by making you feel full longer. Doctors say it's similar to Wegovy, which has been approved for weight loss by the FDA and is produced by the same manufacturer, Novo Nordisk. When we asked the company about people using Ozempic to lose weight, it responded in a statement writing in part, "We do not promote, suggest, or encourage off-label use of our medicines." The company adding Ozempic and Wegovy are not interchangeable. However, the FDA tells NBC News healthcare professionals can choose to prescribe drugs off-label when medically appropriate. Anna McKenna has documented her 45-pound weight loss journey with Ozempic on YouTube.
Interestingly enough, it has been my easiest weight loss attempt and my most successful.
She agrees that Ozempic isn't a magic pill, adding her side effects have included headaches and fatigue, a price some may be willing to pay for weight loss.
And that's the issue, right? The price that some are willing to pay for weight loss. That's really the issue. And part of the reason why this whole culture exists is, well, there's many reasons for it. But of course, they're marketing a drug. They're marketing something they can sell. Makes sense. But there's also public health officials out there who are saying things, on TV and this type of thing, who kind of add to this. And people see this. And then they think, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? So take a look at this. And I played this once before, but let's see if you remember these comments.
If you diet, you lose weight, right?
The number one cause of obesity is genetics. That means if you are born to parents that have obesity, you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of having the disease yourself, even with optimal diet, exercise, sleep management, stress management. So when people see families that have obesity, the assumption is, what are they feeding those kids?
And that's part of the reason why. This is the message that our health officials out there, our public health officials and our scientists, and this is what they're selling. This is what they're talking about, okay? And this is part of the reason why people are getting this message and then running every time they see something, shiny and new without thinking about the consequence. Now, again, it is what it is. Now, that was Dr. Fatima Cody, right? Who is a person who's, pretty high as far as public health. She's a Stanford graduate. She's a scientist, and she's basically an obesity expert. And that was a clip from 60 Minutes, if I remember correctly. And but this is what it is. This is what they're actually promoting. This is basically what they're saying is, don't worry about it. It's a disease. It's not your fault. Diet and exercise have nothing to do with it. If you're obese, don't worry. We can fix that. We have something for you. And it's sad. It's sad because people buy into this. And then those are the folks that run and get, the Ozempics and all these types of things. And then who knows what they end up with, whether it's side effects or not. But they see the weight dropping pretty quick. And there you go. So this is what's going on out there. So obviously, everybody has to be aware of this stuff. So let's dive into Ozempic and these types of drugs directly from the article. Okay, so Ozempic basically is a once-a-week injection approved by the FDA in 2017, and it was approved initially to treat type 2 diabetes. Okay, and it's not currently it's not currently approved by the FDA for weight loss. It's a side effect. It's a side effect. That's what's interesting, right? The side effect is weight loss, okay? So again, Ozempic's main ingredient is semaglutide, right? Or some people say semaglutide, okay? But what it does is it activates what's called the GLP-1 receptor. Now, the idea for the GLP-1 agonist drugs, which this is, stems from it was a Canadian researcher in 1984 that was studying the use of lizard venom, actually, from what's called a Gila monster. Okay, it's kind of like a big giant lizard, and this reptile basically can slow down its metabolism and sustain blood sugar levels due to a hormone called extendin-4. Okay, so basically what this did is it spurred this research to develop a drug that kind of mirrors what that does in this lizard, and that's kind of how that started. Now, the prescriptions for Ozempic and similar drugs have skyrocketed to 9 million in 2023. 9 million. So that's a lot, okay? So let's talk about GLP-1 first, because it is a hormone, okay? And let's talk about exactly what the hormone does. Now, GLP, just so you know, it stands for glucagon-like peptide, okay? And it was basically discovered when they were looking at these receptors in the pancreas and these different hormones in the pancreas, and they were discovering what it does, and they kind of discovered this GLP-1 and exactly how it affects and acts similar to glucagon. Now, we know glucagon in your system, if you know anything about how that works. Glucagon is kind of the companion hormone to insulin. Basically, insulin, what does insulin do, right? So when you take in sugar, insulin is secreted by your pancreas and basically takes the sugar out of your bloodstream, right? And kind of puts it on kind of as a carrier and basically distributes it to where it needs to go. It goes into your cells, it goes into your musculoskeletal system, it goes into your brain, it gets put into the fat if it has nowhere else to go, that type of thing. So, insulin is kind of like the taxi cab driving around the passengers, okay? So, that's what it does, okay? Now, glucagon is has a little bit of a different mechanism, because when your blood sugar goes down, and we're talking about when you start to experience a little more of a hypoglycemia, meaning your blood sugar goes way down, and you'll know this, let's say you haven't eaten in a long time, you're more sensitive, your blood sugar goes way down, you start getting lightheaded, you start feeling woozy, right? Your blood sugar that means that your blood sugar's going down. Well, typically what glucagon is supposed to do is supposed to get secreted between your meals or between those times, go into your liver, knock on the door of your liver basically, and tell your liver to release the stored blood sugar that's called glycogen in there, and release it, turn it into glucose, and basically keep your head awake. Okay. And historically, that's what it does, right? That's typically how it's worked since our ancestors, right? Because remember, our ancestors had to keep their head awake because they didn't get 3 or 4 square meals a day. So the body through evolution has worked that way, right? Well, now we're so metabolically unhealthy in society that all these hormones are completely out of whack. And this is where we start to get problems. This is where we start to get obesity problems, hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, diabetes, all these types of things, because we are just metabolically inflexible. Okay. So, and again, that's just kind of a little bit of the backstory, but let's talk about GLP-1 hormone. So in humans, the GLP-1 is a natural hormone produced and secreted by the endocrine cells in your small intestine. Okay. And one of the things it does, it basically enters your brain upon eating food. Okay. And it has several functions in the body. Okay. It causes your pancreas to release insulin. Okay. That's one. It's a good thing. It blocks glucagon. Okay. It actually blocks glucagon when that which is again what raises the blood sugars when your blood sugar runs low. So it blocks glucagon now. Okay. Keep that in mind. Okay. Now, GLP-1 also slows the gastric emptying, causing slower digestion. And this is the big one. This is the big one because it actually causes a slowing down of the digestive process. And why is that important? Because of satiety. Because remember, it takes you 15 to 20 minutes to feel the full signal when you're eating. Well, if you are eating slow, if you have a slower effect of gastric emptying into the digestive system, okay, you're going to start to feel a little more satiety. You're going to start to feel full for a longer period of time. Digestion is going to slow. Now, this is something that I've talked about that fiber helps to do as well, okay. But also, the GLP-1 signals areas in your brain that process hunger and satiety. So this is what GLP-1 does in your body just normally as a normal hormone, okay? Now, the difference is the GLP-1 naturally produced in your body has a half-life of about 1 to 2 minutes, okay? So, it stays in your system for about 5 minutes. Now, each injection of synthetic GLP-1, okay, because remember, this is what these Ozempics and these types of things are, right? They're injections. These injections of the GLP-1 semaglutide stays in your system for 5 weeks. What could possibly go wrong? 5 weeks, okay? So this is why you're starting to get weight loss, right? You start to get weight loss. Why? Because basically when you drill down to it, and the mechanism is that you're feeling full longer, you're not eating as much, right? And therefore you're starting to get weight loss, okay? This is part of that whole mechanism. And this was a side effect of using these drugs for diabetics, because what these drugs do really were designed to control your diabetes, right? We're control your insulin levels and these types of things, which is not a bad thing. But the issue is now we're actually causing the body to lose weight. Now, is that a good or a bad thing? We'll talk about that, but let's move on. Now, Wegovy, which is a more potent version of Ozempic, okay, and that was designed for weight loss, and that was actually introduced and FDA approved for weight loss, okay, and that was in 2021. Wegovy is improved for individuals with a body mass index of at least 30. It is also approved for use in individuals with a BMI of at least 27 and a medical condition related to weight like cholesterol, diabetes, and high blood pressure. The FDA just approved Wegovy as the first weight loss medication to help prevent heart, stroke, and cardiovascular events in adults with cardiovascular disease and other obesity or overweight issues. Okay, so they're all in on Wegovy. So we'll move on. So let's talk a little bit about why this could be a problem. Okay, and I'm going to address it first, and it's not from this article, but I'm going to address something that this article actually doesn't mention. But what people are seeing in, and what studies are seeing in these people that have lost weight on these medications. When they've looked at DEXA scans from a lot of these people who have lost weight on these drugs, yes, they've lost weight, but they're also losing muscle at the same rate. That's a problem. That's a problem. Because we all know, right, muscle mass and muscle loss as you get older, sarcopenia, is a major problem because now you are leading to metabolic problems. If you are losing muscle as you get older, that's causing a whole range of problems because that's going to make you more susceptible overall to insulin resistance in general, but it's also going to make you susceptible to a lot of other things, including falling, balance issues, breaking bones and these types of things that you don't want to happen as you get older, as you become, especially after 60s and 70s and that type of thing. So the more muscle mass you have into your older ages, the better off you're going to be metabolically flexible. And I've talked about it a lot on this show. You must maintain your muscle mass as you get older. And it's even more imperative that as you lose weight, if you are obese or just overweight, that you maintain that muscle mass as you lose weight, because again, you can lose them both. And what they're seeing in the DEXA scans is that people are losing both. That's a problem. Okay. So that's just my research on this as well. Again, they're going to do more studies on this, but I have a feeling that this is part of the problem. So now let's go, let's dive a little bit deeper into these side effects, okay, of these things. So pancreatitis, diabetic retinopathy, kidney disease, okay? So some of the FDA warnings and precautions include pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas, right? Okay. Diabetic retinopathy complications, vision changes due to blindness, severe hypoglycemia, acute kidney injury, and worsening of chronic kidney disease, which may require dialysis in some cases, and acute gallbladder disease. Also, they've noticed sweating, confusion, drowsiness, headaches, slurred speech, fast heartbeat, anxiety, irritability, mood changes, weakness, and feeling jittery. Okay? Again, things to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to this. These are all warnings, by the way. Also, thyroid cancer warnings. Ozempic or semaglutide also carries a boxed warning that it may cause thyroid cancer. Animal studies showed that Ozempic caused increased incidence of medullary thyroid cancer that has not been proven in humans. So again, this is animal studies. So obviously, you have to take that for what it is, but it's something to take a look at because a lot of animal studies that they do, they make sure that the animals are as close to humans as possible, right? Their environment and that type of thing. So I'm sure eventually, hopefully, they'll do some more studies on humans on this. Next, stomach paralysis and intestinal blockages. So in September 2023, the FDA added a warning for intestinal blockage, intestinal obstruction, and ileus, where the intestine stopped working properly. And I talked about this on a previous podcast. This was one of the big things that came out, especially there were a lot of people in Europe who were taking this that were experiencing that. And I think that's where it started, actually. That's where the first complaints were happening. I think it was somewhere in Europe. I don't remember exactly where, but anyway. In 2023, October, the American Medical Association published a research letter on the further evidence or further adverse events warning about Ozempic serious side effects. In patients with diabetes, research studies have found higher risk of gallbladder, liver, and bile duct disease. Okay. They also found inflammation of the pancreas, again, pancreatitis, bowel obstruction, and gastroparesis, which is a shutdown of gastric movement. Again, paralysis, right? Literally, your gastrointestinal system just completely just stops. Paralysis, basically. Okay, so this is a serious condition. Okay, because you're not going to be able to absorb food. So something to take a look at. Now, at its worst, food can sit in your stomach undigested for hours, putrefying, and bowels shut down with extreme complication if you end up with this paralysis. Okay, so, and this is where the symptoms could be so bad that you can require hospitalization. Okay, it becomes a chronic condition that can get worse over time, and this is what has prompted lawsuits. This is that gastric paralysis is where lawsuits are starting to come out, from because of that. Next, there's been more adverse reactions as well. Adverse reactions reported included nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration, abdominal pain, and constipation. Those reactions have occurred in more than 5% of patients with Ozempic. Other complications include kidney injury. Now, yet be aware that Ozempic is in the process of gaining approval for treatment of chronic kidney disease in patients with type 2 diabetes. So think about it for a second, okay? Chronic kidney injury is one of the complications, but they're approving it for chronic kidney disease in patients with type 2 diabetes. What could possibly go wrong with that? I'm just saying, okay? Pregnancy warnings. The FDA recommends that women stop the medication at least 2 months prior to a planned pregnancy because the drug stays in their system for 5 weeks after the last dose. Animal reproduction studies show potential risk to the unborn from exposure to semaglutide during pregnancy. So those of you who want to have kids, I wouldn't mess with this at all. I get it if you want to lose the weight, but again, if you're on this type of stuff, you better detox. I talk about detoxing for at least 6 months before you have a child, just overall. Now imagine if you're taking this. So again, keep that in mind. Also, the FDA adverse events reports. It has over 45 different types of gastrointestinal symptoms reported to the FDA in its adverse events reporting system. So basically what they're saying is that we don't know the long-term side effects of 94% of the GLP-1 analogs, okay? What does it do to normal physiology after a couple of years of use or longer, right? And then here's the other question. And, to think about when you're looking at these types of things, what happens when you get off it? Let's say you use it, you lose a bunch of weight, and then you get off the drug. What happens? What happens to your system? Does it just go right back, or do you now change your do you change your way of doing things, right? Do you change your eating habits? Do you change your exercise habits to try to keep the weight off now? Because a lot of people have trouble just taking the weight off in general, right? So these things are actually just doing that. But now let's say you do that and you get to the weight you want to get to. Does that mean you change your ways? It's a good question, right? What are the long-term effects? We really don't know. Because what they're doing now is post-marketing studies. So they market the drug, they get it out there, people are starting to use it, and then they do studies post-marketing. And then this is where you find out, oh, by the way, this is all the stuff and this is all the crazy stuff that's happening. So, you guys can kind of see it for yourself. I just gave you the highlights of the article, but definitely read it, but definitely keep track of this. And again, those of you who are on the fence thinking about using this type of thing, do your homework. As I always say with anything, do your homework. Don't take my word for it. Read the articles, look it up, talk to your doctor or whatever, and see if it's worth it to use these type of things. Is it worth it? Again, we don't know what all the side effects are. I'm sure there's going to be more as time goes along. We don't know. But, it's worth exploring. So just something to think about overall. And another article that I just posted recently on the website for you to take a look at. Drug makers now targeting 6-year-olds with these popular weight loss drugs. So Novo Nordisk, again, who's the maker of Ozempic and Wegovy, they are now reportedly already in phase 3 trials with children. 6 to 12, testing its Saxenda product, which is an older and less potent version of its best-selling drugs. So again, it's already been approved for 12 and up, but now they're targeting 6 to 12. It's unbelievable what's going on here. So just some things to keep in mind, guys, that, folks, you guys can do whatever you want to do. I know I'm boring. I could tell you, and again, I'll be the first one to tell you, I've never had a weight loss problem. I never will have a weight loss problem because my body is, I come from a thin family. All my family's thin. That is just our body type. It is very difficult for us to gain weight. Or if we do gain weight, it's mostly like in the midsections. We may gain a little bit of facial weight or something like that, but we're not going to be obese in my family. It just doesn't happen. However, I have worked with people who are. I have worked with people who are, very overweight. And let me tell you, it's very difficult to work with people because it's part of that. They have this sense in their brain, and it's that part of the brain, that reactive part of the brain, that does not want to do the work to, lose the weight. And when they see things like this, when they see the commercial of whatever it is, the miracle weight loss drug, right? Many years ago, those of you who remember the fen craze, right? Eventually they had to pull it off the market because they found out there was some crazy things happening with that, right? So at the end of the day, folks don't want to do the work. And I think that's part of the problem. People just don't want to do the work. They want to look at the pill for the ill, right? And this is the issue. And I've had people that I've worked with, I've put them on programs and it started working. But then what do? They look up online or they look up on TV and all of a sudden there's a new thing. And then they'll call me up and say, George, check this out. Check this out. There's this new weight loss thing. I'm going to try. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is not what we talked about. Get back on your plan. Your plan is working. Okay. But no, they want the shiny new thing. They want something else that, anything to do so they don't have to do the work. And I get it because weight loss is hard. Weight loss is hard. Getting healthy is hard. What I had to do was not easy. Even I didn't have to lose weight, but I had to get myself healthy. I had to eat right. I had to exercise. I had to do things. And I had to do it sometimes when I didn't want to do it. There's still times where I'm tired. Maybe I had a long day and I just don't feel like working out that day, but I do it. You know why I do it? Because I look long term. My vision is always long term. That's whenever I think about picking up a donut or whenever I think about eating bad food, or should I eat this good food versus not, or should I exercise or versus not, or should I take my supplements or not, the first thing that comes to my mind is long term. How is this going to affect me long term? How is this decision going to affect me long term? That's where you have to get to, okay? Once you get to that, once you look at the long-term, your long-term vision of where you want to be and hold that in your brain, that's what you have to replace in that reactive part of your brain. What is the long-term vision? I see myself long-term not doing this. I see myself with arthritis of the back, not being able to bend over, not being able to throw the ball around with my daughter, not being, maybe being wheelchair. I have severe spinal stenosis and degenerative disc and a fracture. Okay. You would never know it, but I have that going on. Now, if I didn't do what I needed to do, who knows where I would be? I'd probably in much pain. I'd probably walking with a cane right now. I probably would have had things replaced. I would probably just be walking around in severe pain. Who knows? Who knows how it is? But I'm not, because I'm looking long term. I'm saying, how is this decision now going to affect me long term? Right? That's what crosses my mind every single time I make a decision, whether it's healthy or not. Can this extend my life? Can this extend my joints? Can this extend my heart? Right? Will my heart benefit from this? Will I be able to live longer to see my grandkids, play with my grandkids? Right? Will my daughter, who is 17 now, will she have to take care of me when she's older? Because I can no longer take care of myself. Because I can't walk, because I'm in a wheelchair. Do I want to burden her with this? These are all the things that cross my mind every single time. And I see it in my in-laws because my wife is dealing with that with her mother and her in-laws. She has to take care of them. Why? Because they didn't do the things to take care of themselves. So just a little piece of advice on that. Think long term. And once you do that, then start the daily disciplines. Just little disciplines. Start the walking, start the exercise program, start the eating better, start taking the supplements that I recommend. All right? And every time you do that, think in your mind, or maybe even have a picture and say, or maybe have a picture of somebody who's in a wheelchair, or maybe watch a video of somebody who can't get up from the couch and say, I don't want to be that. I want to be this. And keep drilling that in your mind. The more you drill that, the more it'll become just like normal, like the way it is for me. And that's what happens. Now, again, I don't know how long I'm going to live. We all have a finite time on this planet. But as long as I do live, I want it to be high quality life. That should be the goal. And that means keeping myself metabolically healthy and metabolically flexible. That means using my muscle. That means lowering my blood sugar. That means keeping as much muscle as I can, keeping my back in shape, because I need to, right? Keeping myself in shape in general. That's the key. So for those of you out there who are on the fence, those of you who are out there not sure, those of you out there need a plan, start there. Start there and just drill it, because your reactive part of the mind always wants to default to the couch and the potato chips and the soda. It always does, because that's easy. All this stuff we do here is hard. It's hard. It requires thought. It requires sacrifice. It requires having to say no. It requires that. It requires people making, you're going to get people that make fun of you. People are going to call you, all kinds of stuff. I've lived through it for years, for the last 20 years of my life. I've lived through that. People calling me all different, making fun of me. George doesn't eat this. He doesn't eat that. He does this. He does that. Oh, he's the health guy. He's the this. He's that. That's okay. That's all right. I'll live with that. Okay. But I guarantee you, a lot of those people are saying that are on multiple medications. I guarantee you that a lot of those people, I know a lot of those people have health problems. Those people have replaced all kinds of joints, those people having trouble walking, having pain walking, all these types of things. And I'm not. So I'm just saying, you guys can, again, I'm not doing anything magical. It's nothing. It's pretty boring. I do the same things every freaking day. Okay. But it's just something to think about. So just keep that in mind, folks. When you're looking at, whether you want to lose weight or just keep yourself healthy too as you get older. Now, our last article here, from Wellness Resources, we're going to talk about berberine. Berberine naturally helps metabolic health. So what is berberine? And this, again, is something that kind of goes along with this whole metabolic health discussion that we're having today. And this is something you can take a look at, again, to help with not only metabolism, to help support your metabolic health and weight loss efforts. Check it out. So berberine, what it is, basically a plant-derived polyphenol, and it's become more popular these days for, again, metabolic health, gut health, and weight management. So let's dive into it. So what is berberine? And that's Berberine, for those of you who want to write that down. So berberine is a deep yellow-colored herb naturally found in golden seal, Oregon grape, and other plants. It has been used for centuries in China, India, North America, and other cultures. Berberine works by several mechanisms in the digestive tract and cellular tissues, including naturally enhancing the release of glucagon-like peptide, or GLP-1. Okay, we talked about GLP-1 and exactly what it is. Okay, so let's talk about it. Berberine enhances the secretion of GLP-1. Several years ago, the BMC Complementary and Alternative Medicine Journal published results of a study on berberine and GLP-1 pathways. Scientists gave rats either a high or a low dose berberine extract for 8 weeks and compared them to control groups. Results showed an increased release of GLP-1 into the gastrointestinal tract for the group that received a high dose of berberine extract. It also turned on and off thousands of gene signals involving blood sugar, gastrointestinal health, and cellular metabolism. So think about what we just talked about. The Ozempics and the Wegovy's and those types of things, they artificially introduce GLP-1. They are artificially actually work with the GLP-1 receptors. This is a natural way that increases the release of GLP-1 in your system. Okay? Basically does the same thing in a different way, right? In a more natural way. So take a look at that. Okay? Next, berberine and GLP-1 microbiome and gut-brain effects. There was a more recent study further demonstrated berberine's effect on GLP-1 with blood sugar, as well as several markers of intestinal health. Rats were fed a high-fat, high-carbohydrate diet to induce poor metabolism, and then divided into the control group and the berberine supported group. The group that received the berberine experienced several positive metabolic shifts, okay, including reduced food intake, so they ate less, modulation of insulin sensitivity and fasting blood sugar, and a reduced lipopolysaccharide levels or inflammatory levels. That's a good thing. In the intestinal tract, berberine supports goblet cells, tight junctions, and villi length, which aids in mucosal production, intestinal membrane integrity, and absorption capacity. And why is that important? Because then you're looking at basically intestinal integrity. So you're not going to have the permeability or the leaky gut problems, right? It's going to help to support that and keep those junctions tight. Extremely important. Additional benefits. Berberine naturally stimulates the release of GLP-1, aiding in pancreas, liver, intestinal tract blood sugar metabolism. It also aids in mitochondrial function, protecting them from oxidative stress. We'll move on. Berberine has been used as a bitter herb for centuries. It has stood the test of time, supporting metabolism. Okay, so think about it for a second. Okay, feeling satisfied after a meal, moving down the digestive tract, insulin, and getting insulin secreted at the right time, and all these types of things. It's basically supporting this whole metabolic process, because that's what it is. Okay, it's supporting this process, and berberine can help do all these things. And this is key because, again, if you're looking to feel full longer, feeling satisfied after you eat, especially with a meal, right, and not having to snack and eat 5 or 6 meals a day, berberine has been working pretty well with this type of thing. So check it out. It's a winner. Okay, so if you guys want to take a look at berberine, maybe do some research on it, check out Wellness Resources Berberine. They are excited to introduce a brand new supplement they just introduced. It's called Berberine Ultra. Okay, so what does it contain? Berberine Ultra features raw Berberis auristata extract, and I know I'm not saying that right, but more soluble than pure berberine. Okay, it's combined with pea protein, sunflower lecithin, and grapeseed extract to create a phospholipid complex with enhanced bioavailability and tolerability. A single 550 milligram capsule of Berberine Ultra shows 4 times better bioavailability compared to a 500 milligram of Berberine HCl, which is basically the berberine that's the common berberine that's sold out there and for many supplement companies. So Wellness Resources, again, brand new Berberine Ultra. It's a brand new product they're introducing, and it's a really great product that is really bioavailable. And again, for those of you who know that I use Wellness Resources supplements because they are fanatics in quality and bioavailability. They use things that are absorbable and that are designed to work extremely well in product, and guaranteed that when they introduce this new product, it's been absolutely studied and tested, and they know it works because that's the only way they release it. They've been doing that for the last 35 years. Okay, it's always clinically studied. They know what they're doing when it comes to these products, and trust me, They're not a huge supplement company, but they spend a lot of money on this. That their money goes on the quality difference of their supplements. And you know what? That's good for me. I would rather spend money on quality, okay, than cut corners, because I know that it's going to work down the line. Okay, I know that it's going to help my clients, and Wellness Resources is absolutely fantastic at that. And they are one of the leaders out there in supplements when it comes to quality. So again, Berberine Ultra, check it out. Go to myvitaminresource.com if you want to check out their Berberine Ultra. But overall, when we look at this, the Ozempics, the Wegovy's, all these types of things, just think about it. Is it worth the risk? Is it really worth the risk? Maybe you want to wait. Maybe you don't want to do this at all. Maybe you want to go back to the good old fashioned, yes, I have to eat well, exercise, watch my blood sugar and do all these things, okay? But remember that there are plenty of supplements that can help you with that. Berberine is one of them, but plenty of other supplements that can help you with blood sugar support, weight loss efforts, all these types of things. Of course, I talk about the leptin diet. For those of you who want to check out my leptin diet weight loss course, it's an audio course. You can take it with you. Just go to shop@georgebatista.com and you can just check out the leptin diet course. It has all the modules in there, and it goes into the science of metabolic health. What is leptin, how it works, and how you can use the leptin diet to keep yourself metabolically healthy, to help with your weight loss efforts, and to just help keep your hormones healthy for a long period of time, because that's how I do it. Okay. So things to keep in the back of your mind. As always, I give you the information and you guys can do with it what you wish. Thank you guys so much. As always, I really appreciate you joining me. I know you could be doing a lot of other things, but you're spending some time with me. It's much appreciated. I love each and every one of you, and I will continue to keep you in the know, to make sure that you guys knowing what's going on out there, to try to keep you as healthy as possible. We're all in it together, right? Let's do whatever we can to help each other, all right? All right, guys, have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And don't forget, control your health. Take care. Have a great day.